What's up, everybody? This is Kieran Reese, so I'm the Obsessive Impulsive Gamer, the O.C.G, and something kind of amazing just happened. I was sitting there late at night when all of a sudden I got a notification that a game that I own, Baldo, was getting a huge update. And imagine my surprise when it turned out that that update included a huge, massive free DLC. And honestly, I haven't seen anyone else cover this, so I feel like I have a chance here to get in and cover it. But before we do, please, if you like the video, like, comment, and subscribe. It's free, it costs you nothing, and it makes my day. Thank you. With that being said, let's get into this! For those of you who are unaware, Baldo and the Guardian Owls was an indie 2021 game, releasing late in that year, and it quickly gained a lot of hype and attention, way more than is usual for an indie game, because on paper it sounded like an amazing fusion of two really cool things. The visuals were designed to emulate Studio Ghibli movies, lovingly so, and as you'll know, that art style is renowned. And the gameplay was meant to be a homage to the classic 8-bit and 16-bit Zelda games that we all know and love, like A Link to the Past and Link's Awakening. However, on release, it got savaged by critics for a litany of problems. I honestly can't go over them all. It was a game that honestly had a lot of potential, but a lot of issues stopped that from being what it could have been. And then, surprisingly, they made moves to rectify that and actually make it a good game. Releasing in summer of 2022, they not only released a major patch that fixed most of the problems that people had with the game, but released a huge free DLC called Baldo and the Three Fairies. Now, this relatively small, compared to the main game DLC, was about 10 hours long. Like I said, the main game was insanely long. And it was designed to be a kind of introductory course to the game mechanics, because the original game was notoriously obtuse and threw you into the deep end. This was meant to ease new players into the experience. And it accomplished that beautifully, and Baldo kind of received a bit of a 180 turnaround in critical reception, which, honestly, if you fix your game, you kind of deserve it. And while the devs promised that they would be working on more DLCs and more updates, they kind of went dark after that. So imagine my surprise when, like, midnight last night, I started downloading a huge, relatively speaking, update for the game. When the game is only like 6 gigs, a 2 gigabyte update's a pretty big deal. So what does it add? Baldo and the Elemental Temples. A huge, new, free DLC. That's just as big as the Guardian Owls, if not slightly bigger, actually. Although this has more of a focus on dungeon crawling. And honestly, just right away, the amount of content that this game now has is fucking insane. The original game already had like 60 hours. The Three Fairies added 10 to 15 hours. And the Elemental Temples is just as big, giving you roughly 80 to 100 hours of gameplay. Seriously? That's insane. So, is it any good? And what's it all about? Well, I'm so happy you asked. Whereas Baldo and the Three Fairies was a prequel to the original adventure, Baldo and the Elemental Temples is an epilogue taking place after the original adventure. Baldo and his grandpa, who was the kind of the mentor of the original game, come seeking a legend of 4 elemental temples. However, quickly and seemingly predictably, Baldo's grandpa goes missing and he finds himself lost and alone on a grand adventure.
Hey.
This kind of happens to this kid a lot. Baldo quickly learns that his grandpa is stuck behind the door, and if he wants to free him, he's gonna have to go and do all 4 temples. And honestly, things kind of get weird. He's given advice and help on his quest by a weird robot simulation owl who calls himself a simulacrum. Meanwhile, he has to contend with an evil sorcerer owl who actually looks kind of cool. There are 4 temples that Baldo can explore in any order. Water, which you're seeing now. Fire, as you can see, all red and glowy and shit. The Temple of Light, which is very, very spiky. And the Temple of Wind, which I'm not going to show you because I want to keep some surprises. I wanted to show all of the dungeons and stuff like that. I think there's actually more. That being said, you better buckle up, because these puzzles are devious, and they're gonna take you a lot of trial and error to figure them out before you finally do. This one block puzzle right here took me the better part of like 30 minutes. I felt like an idiot. Oh God. And that's not even talking about the enemies. Oh boy. Be prepared to die a lot before you finally beat these bosses, okay? Especially in the beginning when you only have 3 hearts and this guy takes 2, so you get 2 hits. Just 2. He is going to knock you into next week. If you're lucky, he is going to pound your dick into the dirt, and he's gonna laugh while he does it too. Thankfully, when you finally turn the tables and give it to that robo asshole, it's very satisfying. And it's part of progression, which I'll get to that in a second. Because you don't just get to go to the temples. Oh no! Not only do you have to find your way there on an overworld that is just as complicated and labyrinthian as a dungeon, usually by doing 3 of something like you're about to see, like pushing 3 statues into place, or turning 3 lights. But the robo bosses I just talked about, you have to fight them to get the keys to open the dungeon. Great. Oh man, you're gonna die. You're gonna die a lot. The update also comes with some much needed quality of life improvements. Like originally, you could only push things in 1 increment like you're seeing now. It was kind of annoying. It wasn't a deal breaker, but it was just kind of like added unnecessary steps. Now, thankfully, like every other game, you can just hold the button and push it. Oh, what wonders we have in the age that we live in. There is also a new tip system that shows you helpful things to remember in the main game and in both of the DLCs to help you keep track of stuff, because the game still could be really cryptic and could be one of those where the fuck do I go games. So, let me end this video, which is going to be on the shorter side, with some final thoughts. Is this DLC and is the game worth playing in my opinion? Yes, with an asterisk. The game is actually pretty cheap now, and I do think it's worth playing. I think all the updates, both, past and present, have taken a game that was fucking broken and actually made it into a pretty good game. But that being said, it is far from perfect even now. The game can be brutally difficult, especially in the beginning. The game has a bunch of nagging problems, like a stamina wheel that you're constantly having to refill. That's also an unfortunate carryover from a game that inspired Breath of the Wild. And you can lose progress in the overworld since it only saves you up to the last time you entered the zone. So if you're spending a lot of time in one area doing something you die, sucks to be you. And there's a little bit too much of a focus on combat. And the combat itself is good, but enemies respawn whenever you enter the area. Now, I know it may sound like I'm bagging on the game, but this couldn't be further from the truth. It has an absolutely gorgeous art style, a frankly fucking ridiculous amount of content. You're going to spend maybe 20, 30 bucks max on this game, and you're going to get, now, 80 to 100 hours of content. It has a lot of really ingenious puzzle solving, and it does have a lot to offer, but you just have to be prepared to deal with problems. Now, that being said, it is worth noting that this is a game made by literally 2 people, and it is a labor of love. And a lot of the shortcomings and flaws can be explained by that. It's also kind of fucking insane when you think of the size and amount of content that this game has to offer when only 2 dudes made it, and they spent the better part of 10 years working on this game. And honestly, they keep updating it, they keep fixing problems, so I think it's good, and it's only going to get better. So what better time to get on the ground floor? Either way, if you like Zelda-like games, if you like Studio Ghibli games, you really can't go wrong with this. Just be aware that it does have flaws. Now, that being said, I am Kieran Reese, the obsessive-compulsive gamer, covering this DLC. I think the first person to do it, and I am wishing you to have an awesome day, and to like, comment, and subscribe if you like the video. That being said, have a great day and a happy start of your year. Peace!